What should you do when your mission to conquer someone fails and your life enters a countdown? Obviously, let loose and go wild for once. But after being a rich young master in a wealthy family for 5 years, I've already had my fill of luxury. My only regret was that, because of the mission, I could only revolve around the female lead, and I hadn't even touched a single finger of a woman. But I've got looks and money. What kind of beauty couldn't I get? So I started reviewing all the pretty female supporting characters who had appeared in this idol drama. And even picked out a few good-looking background extras. Orange Hotel, Room 1208. Come sleep with me. Sent to everyone with one click. The female lead's best friend, Alicia, replied immediately. Opened the door. The female lead's older sister, Freya, started banging on the door right after. George, who else is in there with you? Soon after, the female lead arrived with a dark expression, separated by a door. I awkwardly asked her. Mahjong, we've got just enough for a table. Chapter 1. I finished showering, put on a loose bathrobe, scattered rose petals all over the bed, and then texted Willow. Orange Hotel, Room 1208. Come sleep with me. Willow replied quickly. Are you insane, George? Have some shame. I'm asking my own wife to sleep with me. How is that shameless? Willow fell silent for a moment, then sent a voice message. George, our marriage was just for show. Go find whoever the hell you want. Just don't bother me. Her impatient voice carried the faint sound of a low male voice in the background. Second sister, does this watch look good? Willow's tone immediately softened. Even without seeing her expression, I knew there was a doting smile on her face. Makoto looks good in anything. Makoto was Willow's stepbrother, and the male lead of this world. When the Liu family visited an orphanage for charity, Liu took one look at the handsome, adorable boy and begged her parents to adopt him. They grew up together and went to school together. Before anyone noticed, Willow's feelings for him had long surpassed those of a sister. But Makoto only saw her as a sister. After their parents discovered Willow's feelings, they strongly opposed it. To cut off her hopes, Father Liu arranged a marriage alliance with our Wang family, and within a few months, the wedding was settled, which worked perfectly for me, because the person I was supposed to conquer was Willow. First get married, then slowly build feelings. With proximity on my side, even an iceberg could be warmed up in 5 years. During the first few months of our marriage, Willow actually treated me fairly well. She said that people like us had no control over our own lives, family alliances, no such thing as love or romance, living like puppets. I agreed enthusiastically. Exactly. Since we're husband and wife, even if there's no love, we can at least start as friends. On our wedding night, we opened a bottle of red wine and sat on the balcony in the evening breeze. Willow told me about her desperate, suppressed, almost maddening love for Makoto, love she could never obtain. I nodded vigorously. Oh, a forbidden romance between siblings. Huh. That's kind of compelling. Did I just break up a pair of star-crossed lovers? Willow raised her brow in surprise. Her eyes shimmered with broken flecks of laughter. She curved her lips and leaned toward me. With a soft clink, our glasses touched. Her laughter drifted into the wind. George, you're actually pretty interesting. You're a friend I'm definitely keeping. Chapter 2. Starting as friends. My plan to conquer her progressed very smoothly. Willow and I were forced by our parents to go on a honeymoon. We went mountain climbing together, diving together, surfing together. Willow loved all kinds of extreme sports, and I enthusiastically played along. The smile on Willow's face grew brighter and brighter. George, it's really fun going out with you. My sister and Makoto don't like these things at all. Especially Makoto, he's afraid of heights. He wouldn't even dare climb a slightly tall mountain. The system notification popped up. Willow's favorability toward me was skyrocketing. 50, 60, 70. Host, it's at 75 now. Once it passes 80, it won't just be in the friend zone anymore. Step it up. While diving, Willow's foot accidentally got stuck in a coral reef. When she yanked her leg hard, the oxygen tank on her back hit a rock, and the gauge started fluctuating wildly. Willow covered her throat in panic, a long stream of bubbles escaping her mouth. She was a very prideful person. Her diving skills were average, yet she refused to bring a diving instructor. I swam over to her, pulled out my regulator mouthpiece, and shoved it into her mouth. Then I dove down, trying to free her leg, but her calf was wedged too tightly. I struggled with it for quite a while and still couldn't get it out. When I was about to run out of air, Willow grabbed me by the neck and hauled me upward, stuffing the mouthpiece back into my mouth. We took turns sharing that single mouthpiece, relying on that tiny bit of oxygen to hold on until we finally broke free. When we surfaced, we gasped for air in huge gulps. Willow hugged me tightly, her body trembling amid the surging waves. George, you're insane. You could have died. I patted her back reassuringly. It's fine. I've had my fortune read. Apparently my fate is tough as steel. I'll live to at least 99. Willow let out a small laugh, then said seriously, just now, I was actually glad I married you. I exaggerated a shout. Wow. Don't tell me you've fallen in love with me already. Willow curled her lip. In your dreams, I mean. If it had been some other guy, I might really have lost my life. The system said, she's lying. The conquest progress is already at 79. Sure enough, when a woman is vulnerable, it's easy for her to fall for someone. Host, you're almost there. Chapter 3. Unfortunately, the moment Makoto appeared, everything reset to 0. After our honeymoon, we returned home just in time for Makoto's 22nd birthday. The Liu family threw him a grand birthday banquet. I had just stepped out of Makoto's room when I heard a wail from behind me. Startled, I spun around and rushed back. What happened? Makoto was holding a high-end custom suit splattered with ink, his eyes filled with disbelief. Second brother-in-law, why did you ruin my suit? I was dumbfounded. What? I know that at this banquet, Mom and Dad are going to introduce you to all the relatives and friends. You don't want me stealing the spotlight, but today is my birthday. Makoto tilted his head back, his eyes reddening, looking like a tragic male lead straight out of an old-school melodrama. This was custom-made for me by my second sister after spending so much time choosing it. Second brother-in-law, do you dislike how close I am with her? What a brainless attempt at framing me. I never touched your clothes. As for that bottle of ink, I glanced around the room, spotted the ink bottle on the floor, and nodded. How about this? Let's call the police and have them tested for fingerprints. Makoto's face turned pale instantly. He cried out in panic. Family scandals shouldn't be exposed. We should be covering this up, not calling the police. Even if I don't like you, I'd never let you be publicly disgraced. Mother Liu also rushed over. Hearing Makoto's words, she nodded approvingly. Makoto is very sensible. It's just a suit. I'll have someone deliver another one. As for everything else, let's not pursue it. Chapter 4. Willow stood behind me, staring at me with a complicated expression. I met her gaze calmly. I didn't do it. Willow hesitated for a moment, then looked at Makoto. Makoto, could there be some misunderstanding? Makoto's body trembled violently, as if he had been shot. He swayed, barely able to stand. Second sister, don't you know what kind of person I am? You believe him, but not me. Regret flashed across Willow's face immediately. She walked over and wrapped an arm around Makoto's shoulders. That's not what I meant. The two of them embraced, while the system warned in my ear, favorability has dropped to 60. What a waste. What a waste indeed. I saved your life. For God's sake. After an entire month together. Is this really the kind of person you think I am? Disheartened, I returned to my room alone and didn't even attend the rest of the banquet. I sulked for a while, but there was no helping it. I was just a working man on a mission. The conquest had to continue. So I pulled myself together, tried to please Willow again, and worked hard to clear up the misunderstanding. Slowly, her favorability toward me began rising again. But good times never last. Makoto would stir up trouble every now and then. Willow's heart always leaned toward him, and after several incidents, she completely ran out of patience with me. That night, Willow packed up her clothes, preparing to move out. I tried to stop her. What will our parents think if you do this? We were friends. At least give me some face. Friends. Willow let out a cold laugh, dragging her suitcase, her lips curled in mockery, her eyes icy. Today Makoto told me a term. I didn't even know this type of guy existed. George. Guys like you are called manipulative schemers. On the surface you act carefree, but inside you're petty, dark, vile, and disgusting. George, you make me sick. Chapter 5. Women really are like dogs you can never tame. Underwater. I gave her my oxygen. When she crashed her motorcycle, I carried her down the mountain on my back, walking over 10 miles. When she was hungover, I stayed up all night taking care of her. When she made a mistake at work, I used my own private savings to cover the loss for her. I worked myself to the bone for her. Even though I was her husband in name, she said we were just friends, and I didn't dare cross a single line. I did all that, and she calls me vile and malicious. What the hell am I still trying to conquer for? I might as well just die. It's just a pity that after transmigrating here for 5 years, I only revolved around Willow. I never even properly looked at this world. The system reminded me, there's only 1 month left. Her favorability has already dropped to 30. It's completely hopeless. Host, what are your plans? If this mission fails, your soul will scatter and vanish. There won't be another chance. You should eat, drink, and enjoy yourself while you can. Eat and drink. I've been a rich young master for 5 years. I'm sick of that already. Oh, wait, there is one thing I haven't tasted. Women. I can't possibly die without ever having experienced that. What a loss that would be. But Willow rejected me. So who should I sleep with? I scrolled through my contact list and realized I actually had quite a few backup options. After all, this is an idol drama. Whether it's the female lead, the female supporting roles, or even random extras, they're all pretty attractive. I picked a few with outstanding looks, figures, and temperament, and forwarded the same message with one click. Hilton. Room 1208. Come sleep with me, Alicia replied first. What do you mean? Alicia is Willow's best friend. Every time we went out, she was usually with us. More than once, she looked at Willow with obvious envy. What direction do I have to kneel toward to get arranged into a marriage with someone like George? Why is he so good to you? You lucky brat. Well, now that luck is yours. I sent her a selfie showing off my abs. Cut the crap. I'm lonely. I want a woman. If you're not coming, I'll find someone else. Alicia immediately replied. But I can't betray my friend. Willow is my bestie. George, I didn't expect you to be this kind of person. Did you lose a truth or dare game? Wait, you're serious? That won't work. Even if you're that kind of person, I'm not. I have morals. What if Willow finds out? But to be fair, she doesn't treat you that well either. She only likes that puppy-type guy like Makoto. Right. She's the one who wronged you first. You're not at fault. And I'm not at fault either. Worst case, you two divorce and I'll marry you. So fulfilling some obligations in advance isn't a big deal. Right. I'm not the other woman. She's insane. Rambling nonstop. Almost one message every few seconds. Come or don't, make up your mind. Just as I was about to block her, I heard Alicia's voice outside the door, lowered deliberately. Ahem. George, open the door. Chapter 6. I stared at my phone in shock. It had only been 10 minutes. Her house was on the other side of the city. How did she even get here? I opened the door. Alicia moved with lightning speed, stretching her long legs and slipping into the room furtively before shutting the door behind her. She pressed herself against the door like a shy newlywed bride. Her pretty face flushed red. The tips of her dark hair were still dripping with water. I widened my eyes. You even took a shower? Alicia looked me up and down, then quickly averted her gaze, covering half her face with her hand as she murmured. Why are you dressed like that? Obviously, I'm going to sleep. This is what you wear to sleep. What about you? How did you get here? Alicia pointed out the window. Helicopter. Impressive. I pinched her waist. TSK. Firm and springy. Nice. My fingers brushed over the thin fabric of her dress and slid downward. She clearly worked out her hips too. When my hand moved lower, I paused, unsure what to do next. After hesitating for a moment, I looked up at Alicia. How about you take the lead? Her face instantly turned the color of liver. She stammered, stumbling over her words. Why you? George, are you serious? Don't be ridiculous. If I wasn't serious, then get out. I pushed at her. She grabbed my wrist instead. A flicker of hesitation crossed her eyes. Then she rose on her toes and kissed me. Chapter 7. At first it was tentative, cautious. When she saw I didn't resist, she deepened it immediately, fierce and urgent, her arms locking tightly around my waist as if she wanted to fuse us together. In the quiet room, only our ragged breathing remained, accompanied by Alicia's unmistakably pounding heartbeat. Thump, thump. My mind went blank, blood rushing hot through my veins. Like a vine, I wrapped my arms tightly around her. Alicia was really interesting. She had a bright, cheerful personality, always laughing and fooling around with Willow. Yet around men she was polite and distant. The few times we interacted, if Willow was present, she would chat and joke with me naturally. But the moment Willow left, she'd sit as far from me as possible, acting as if we barely knew each other. Just like today. At first she acted shy and reserved, but once she started kissing me, her fiery, passionate nature revealed itself instantly. I don't know when we ended up on the bed. Just as things were about to go all the way, Alicia suddenly stopped, hovering by my ear, breathing hard, her dark eyes misty and her voice hoarse. She said, George, guide me a little. I don't have any experience. What? I was stunned. Wait, you're a wealthy second-generation heir who looks like this, and you're telling me you have no experience? You're 30. Are you lying? Alicia pushed herself up on her elbows and glared at me. Who's 30? I'm only 23 this year. What? So when I met you 5 years ago, you were only 18. Yeah, I just graduated from college last year. George, you don't know me at all. Careless of me. Since Alicia and Willow were so close, I automatically assumed she was our age. I didn't expect her to be 6 years younger than me. No wonder she always looked so youthful to me. It wasn't good skincare, she really was that young. That only made my pulse quicken more. I reached to undo her bra. Actually, I don't have experience either, but it's fine. I've read plenty of books. My theoretical knowledge is extensive. Not only can I guide you, I could probably handle a few more. Chapter 8. Just as my fingers hooked onto the clasp of Alicia's strap, there was another knock on the door. George, open the door. The voice was gentle and pleasant, yet carried a chill that brooked no refusal. Just those few words were like a bucket of ice water poured over my head, extinguishing all the heat in my body. I shoved Alicia away in a panic, starting to stammer. Hurry, hide, hide. The eldest Miss Lou is here. I had always been a little afraid of Freya. Although she was only 3 years older than Willow, she had already taken over the family business and was the true helmsman of the Lou family. Usually quiet and reserved, cold and composed. I had seen her handle business matters before, with effortless calm. She could decide another person's fate in a few words. The way she looked down on others from a position of power always made me feel like she wasn't even from our generation. I must have lost my mind. What kind of guts did I have to send her a message like that? Flustered, I pushed Alicia away and spun around the room like a headless fly. I rushed over, grabbed her, and shoved her into the wardrobe. Hide in here for now. Alicia was terrified too. How does Sister Freya know you're here? I don't know. Maybe she just passed by. Yeah, passed by. I pressed a finger to my lips, signaling her to be quiet, pushed her head down into the wardrobe, and shut the door. The knock came again, neither heavy nor light. George, is there anyone else in your room? I straightened my messy robe and hair, walked over, and opened the door with an exaggerated grin. Haha, what brings you here? What do you mean anyone? There's no one else in my room. Chapter 9. Freya stood there in a black dress, her expression cold. When her gaze swept over me, her pupils contracted uncontrollably for a split second. She narrowed her eyes, long lashes trembling faintly. Did you quarrel with Willow? I shrugged. No, she can't even be bothered to argue with me. You know that. We barely have any contact now. Freya nodded, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. I've already had the lawyer send over the divorce agreement. What agreement? Her pale, slender fingers slowly unbuttoned the top of her dress, revealing a thin slip dress underneath. I stared at those beautiful fingers, my mind going blank. What divorce agreement? The divorce agreement between you and Willow. Divorce? Why was the eldest Miss Lou suddenly interfering in our marriage? Could it be? I snapped back to my senses and lifted my head. Sister, that text message, I was just joking. I was playing truth or dare with friends. Haha. Oh. Freya stepped forward one step at a time. I retreated step by step, but Freya, never joke. My legs hit the sofa. There was nowhere left to retreat. Her slender figure pressed closer slowly. Freya buried herself against my chest. My heart pounded as if it would lose control, out of fear, perhaps. Or maybe something else I didn't dare name. My body trembled slightly. She lifted her head and kissed my Adam's apple. My mind went hazy, forced to tilt my head back. My neck arched like a trembling bowstring. A muffled sound escaped my lips, so embarrassing that even hearing it made my face burn. Unable to endure any longer, Alicia burst out of the wardrobe. Stop right there. Chapter 10. I quickly pulled my bathrobe closed. The corners of Alicia's eyes were red. She pointed at me, so furious she was almost in tears. George, you sent a message to Sister Freya too. Freya straightened up, her sharp gaze sweeping over. You contacted this girl as well? I clutched my collar and shrank into the corner of the sofa. Well, actually, Freya asked coldly. Exactly how many people did you send that message to? I lowered my head, not daring to speak. I had contacted over a dozen people. The others ignored me. Well, not entirely ignored, my senior replied with, did your account get hacked? And another of Willow's friends sent an impassioned essay. Willow, we're best friends. Is it fun testing me with your brother-in-law's phone? I'm not that kind of person. You should test Alicia instead. The way she looks at George has never seemed very innocent to me. Tell me the results after. She guessed right. Not innocent, Alicia wailed in grief. Were there other people too? George, so I wasn't your only choice. Freya's expression darkened like still water before a storm. Who did you contact first, me or Alicia? Alicia's face lit up. So I was the first. You thought of me first, didn't you? Freya said coolly. I don't believe that. She reached for my phone on the coffee table and began scrolling through the chat history. I lunged forward to grab it back. You've got to be kidding. I hadn't even thought of Freya at first. For some inexplicable reason, my brain short-circuited at the end and I sent her a message. If she found out she was the last one among more than 10 people, wouldn't she strangle me on the spot? Chapter 11. I threw myself onto Freya, tossing the phone onto the bed. She tried to get up, and I pressed down desperately to stop her. The two of us tangled together when the door sounded again. Alicia laughed in disbelief. Great, just great, another one. I'd love to see who else you've got in your heart. She strode over and yanked the door open. Willow stood outside, visibly stunned. Why are you here? Alicia looked awkward. Sis, let me explain. Willow pushed past her and walked in, holding a stack of divorce papers. When she saw Freya and me entangled together, her expression changed again. The two sisters locked eyes. Silence stretched for a long moment before Willow's face turned deathly pale. Through gritted teeth, she hurled the divorce papers at me. George, this is your reason for divorcing me? Two at once, you really know how to play. No wonder Makoto said you're disgusting and filthy. You're shameless. The system urgently warned in my ear. Favorability 15. 10. 9. 8. Host. Say something to appease her. You'll die. You're about to die. I swallowed the metallic sweetness rising in my throat and smiled at Willow. extending my hand. Yeah, I'm exactly that filthy. Perfect timing, 4 people make a mahjong table. Want to join us? Before I could finish speaking, my blood surged upward, impossible to suppress. I tilted my head back and spat out a mouthful of blood, collapsing backward. Freya caught me in her arms. For the first time, I saw panic on her face. George, what's wrong with you? Sorry. I got your clothes dirty. After saying that final sentence, I closed my eyes and fell unconscious. In the fading edge of my awareness, I only heard Alicia's frantic shout. Call an ambulance. Hurry, call an ambulance. Chapter 12. So it's true, before a person dies, memories really do replay like a revolving lantern. Scene after scene flashing before your eyes. I saw Willow and me standing side by side on a mountaintop watching the sunrise. She looked at me gently, the rosy clouds reflected in her eyes. George, if there were no Makoto, I think I might have fallen for you. When she caused trouble at the company, the two of us hid it from Freya and secretly worked overtime every day to fix the reports. The security guard patrolled outside. We crouched under the desk with our heads pressed together. I crunched on potato chips, crunch, crunch, and Willow nervously covered my mouth. Why are you like a little mouse? Stop eating. Skin brushed against skin. Our breaths intertwined. We're not made of stone. How could I not be moved? How could I not? My ears were filled with the sound of my own heartbeat. But in the next second, Willow turned away again. Maybe she was moved. Maybe she hesitated. But the scale in her heart always tipped toward Makoto. 5 years of time, just a one-man show performed by me alone. Now the curtain had fallen. My female lead had never entered my story. She had only been a bystander, an indifferent spectator. She packed up her things, stood up from her seat, and left the stage to find the male lead who belonged to her. When someone doesn't love you, no matter how much effort you make, she simply doesn't. You can't force even a fraction of it. Love is so damn cruel. A high fever overtook me. My consciousness blurred. I only heard someone calling my name again and again beside my ear. George, George, you're not allowed to die. I order you, wake up. A cold hand lingered on my face. I turned my head toward it comfortably, rubbing against the soft palm and murmuring, I'm scared of dying too, but what can I do? The conquest failed. I'm finished. Why won't Willow love me? What am I supposed to do? Conquest. What conquest? The conquest, just the conquest. I rambled incoherently, my body burning with heat, longing. I grabbed that hand and pressed it to my chest. I'm so hot. Your hand feels so good. Help me. Okay. A wave of coolness traveled across my body. Then, for some reason, I felt even hotter. I pushed her away in discomfort. It's not cold anymore. Why are you hot too? Go away. Bring me someone colder. Someone bit my earlobe. Don't even think about it. George, you can only belong to me. Chapter 13. When I woke again, daylight flooded the room. Beneath me were pure white sheets. Someone was holding my hand, sitting by the hospital bed with her head resting on my stomach, asleep. The system's voice echoed in my ear. Host, you're lucky. Favorability has stopped at 10. You've barely kept your miserable little life. I let out a sigh of relief. If I died after only tasting a bit of meat soup, that would have been a huge loss. Good thing I'm fine. For the next few days, I absolutely must not provoke Willow again or let her favorability drop any further. I sat up and pushed at the head resting on my chest. Alicia, wake up. The person lifted her head. Her features were striking and coldly beautiful. I jumped in shock. Sister, why is it you? Freya's expression darkened. Disappointed. Haha. No, of course not. It's just, you're usually so busy. How do you have time to stay at the hospital with me? How long was I asleep? Freya stared straight at me, her dark eyes carrying emotions I couldn't decipher at all. George, let's make a deal. I'll help you conquer Willow. I was stunned. How do you know about that? The system suddenly chimed in. Heh, while you were unconscious, you explained everything to her yourself. Knowing doesn't matter anymore. You're almost dead anyway. What difference does it make? True enough. I'm someone on the brink of death. If Freya succeeds, I get my life back for free. If she fails, I lose nothing. I nodded. All right, then what about you? Sister, if it's a deal, what do you want? Freya held my hand and pressed a kiss against it. You. Chapter 14. I didn't expect the first thing Freya would do to be provoking Makoto. The Liu family villa was huge. Freya lived alone on the 3rd floor, while Makoto's room and mine were both on the 2nd floor. After I was discharged from the hospital, Freya had people send a large number of luxury goods into Makoto's room. Makoto picked out a sapphire watch and showed it off to me smugly. Nice, right? Big sister gave it to me. Willow sat on the sofa and nodded with a smile. Whatever Makoto chooses looks good. Makoto shot me a provocative glance and lowered his voice. George, see that? Even if you fake being sick or dying, second sister won't spare you a glance. So what if you're her husband? I'm the center of the Liu family. No matter big sister or second sister, they love me the most. Don't even think about replacing me. Honestly, I had never quite understood Makoto. He clearly didn't like Willow. She had hinted and implied her feelings several times, and he had firmly rejected her every time. But he also couldn't stand seeing Willow get along well with me. Whenever he saw the two of us being harmonious, he would get restless, come out to stir up trouble, and use some underhanded tricks to drive a wedge between Willow and me. The schemes were clumsy, but extremely effective on Willow. No matter what conflict arose, she would always unconditionally take Makoto's side. In front of him, I had never once won. Just like this time, Willow had seen with her own eyes the blood I coughed up. She had seen the ambulance take me away, but Makoto said I was faking it, that I had been caught cheating and couldn't handle the embarrassment. So I staged the whole thing. Willow believed him. I was hospitalized for a week. She never visited once. Not a single call. Not a single message. When Freya brought me home, Willow acted as if she didn't know me, not even sparing me a glance. But for some reason, Freya must have explained the hotel incident to her, because she never mentioned divorce again. Our relationship returned to its former stagnant stillness. Chapter 15. I ignored Makoto and walked to the island counter to pour myself some coffee. Freya entered from the doorway. The moment Makoto saw her, he rushed over eagerly. Big sister, you're back. I really love the gifts you gave me. Look, does this watch match my suit? Freya's face darkened. Without hesitation, she reached out and snatched the watch from his hand. How shameless. Why are you wearing George's watch? Makoto looked as if he'd been struck by lightning. His face turned pale, his lips trembling. Big sister, what are you talking about? These were clearly all given to me by you. Freya sneered. As if you deserve them. Return everything you took from George. Makoto clenched his fists in anger. I didn't take anything from him. Big sister, what are you talking about? Sensing something was wrong, Willow quickly walked over to mediate, protectively pulling Makoto behind her. Big sister, how could Makoto possibly take someone else's things? Is there some misunderstanding? The butler lowered his head and quietly informed Freya. Miss, the maid made a mistake. The gifts that were meant for the second young master were delivered to the young master's room instead. Freya said coldly. She can't even handle such a small task. Have her dismissed tomorrow. Move everything back to George's room. George, come to the study with me. I have something to discuss. I was secretly thrilled as I followed Freya upstairs. Makoto's eyes looked like they were about to spit fire, but he didn't dare contradict Freya. Instead, he vented his anger at Willow. Willow comforted him, saying it was only because I had just recovered from a serious illness and had helped Big Sister a great deal at the company before. So that was why she sent me the gifts. Chapter 16. Makoto had been spoiled by Willow for years. He always felt that all the good things in the family should belong to him. This time, he had lost face in front of me. There was no way he could swallow that humiliation. Yet for some reason, over the past few days, Freya's attitude toward him had grown especially cold. Whenever he spoke, she kept a straight face and ignored him. The moment I chimed in, however, Freya responded immediately. One morning, as we were heading to the company, Makoto happened to be going out as well and wanted to hitch a ride with Freya. She directly said she had no time. Big sister, then can you at least drop me off? I need to go to the mall, he said, rolling his eyes. Didn't you hear her say she's busy? The mall and the company are in opposite directions. Do you not understand plain language? I cut in. Freya affectionately took my hand. I have time. Let's go. I'll take you. Makoto was on the verge of going insane with anger. Freya had always been indifferent to everyone, yet toward me, she was so warm and intimate. He simply couldn't endure it. And unlike Willow, Freya wasn't a fool. When he tried framing me once more, she saw through it at a glance and warned him coldly. If there's a next time, you won't be staying in the Liu family. Blinded by obsessive jealousy, Makoto finally lost his reason. Determined to get rid of me, he stepped right into the trap Freya had carefully prepared for him. The Liu family owned a vacation villa in the mountains outside the city. On weekends, the family would often stay there for a couple of days. One of the most remote wooden cabins suddenly caught fire. I ran over to check the blaze and saw Makoto stumbling out from the cabin entrance. George, second sister is still inside, her leg is stuck. What? I immediately rushed into the cabin. Makoto followed. While I frantically searched for Willow, he gripped a short knife and viciously stabbed it into my back. I screamed and collapsed to the ground. Makoto's face twisted grotesquely. George, go to hell. Willow will never love you, and Big Sister will never love you either. She's mine, mine alone. Blood pooled across the floor. Struggling to rise, I gasped. Willow, what about Willow? Is she okay? Is she really inside? Chapter 17. Makoto burst into wild laughter. Willow isn't even here. At a time like this, you're still thinking about her. George, you're pathetic. Clutching my wound, my eyes bloodshot, I stubbornly lifted my head. I know she doesn't love me. No matter what I did, whenever you framed me before, she never hesitated for even a second to believe you. But what could I do? I just love her. Being able to marry her made me happy for so. So long, Makoto. I don't understand. You don't even like her. Why did you have to tear us apart? Guided by my words, Makoto grew increasingly smug and recounted all the times he had framed me in the past. What he didn't know was that, hidden in a discreet corner outside the window, a drone was recording everything. Makoto laughed maniacally. Idiot. Of course it's because if I don't want something, I'd rather destroy it than let someone else have it. I could have spared your worthless life before, but you dared to covet big sister. She's mine. I've loved her for so many years. If I can't have her, what gives you the right? Go die. He plunged the knife into my abdomen again and twisted it viciously. A mouthful of blood surged from my lips. As I struggled in despair, a burning beam from the ceiling crashed down onto me. Makoto fled the scene in haste. After he left, the people Freya had arranged immediately pulled me out and left behind a charred fake corpse in my place. The rest of the Liu family was still gathered at the main villa, completely unaware of the fire at the cabin. Only after calculating that enough time had passed did Makoto mess up his hair and rush into the living room in disarray. Something terrible happened. The cabin caught fire. Second brother-in-law is still inside. Chapter 18. Everyone rushed out to put out the fire. The villa was well equipped with firefighting systems. Once the high-pressure hoses were turned on, the flames were quickly extinguished. Willow was the first to rush into the cabin. Then she froze at the doorway, her face deathly pale. Makoto hurried over to take a look, and immediately burst into tears. Second brother-in-law is dead. Woo-woo. It was as if Willow hadn't heard him. Expressionless, she stood there stiffly, not moving an inch. Makoto continued sobbing. I heard second brother-in-law talking to a woman on the phone. She told him to wait in the storage room. Who was he waiting for? Who wanted to harm him? Willow's eyes shifted mechanically. You're saying, he came here to meet a woman in secret? Her gaze went vacant. Suddenly, she started laughing. George, how can you be this disgusting? How can you be this disgusting? As she laughed, tears poured down wildly. The almost hysterical look on her face startled even Makoto. Freya spoke up. Don't jump to conclusions. You, clear out the body. The rest of you, come with me. Back in the living room, Freya calmly took out her phone. I was testing my drone earlier. I wonder if it captured any footage of the cabin. Everyone here today is family. I'd like to see exactly who George was supposedly meeting. The footage was projected onto the large screen. At the entrance of the wooden cabin, Makoto and I appeared. Makoto looked anxious. George, second sister is still inside, her leg is stuck. Everyone turned their heads toward Makoto. His face turned ghostly white in an instant. At the end of the footage, I lay on the ground, trembling as I reached toward the sky, looking up with deep longing. I'm glad you're safe, Willow. If there's a next life, can you treat me a little better? Chapter 19. Willow's lips twitched uncontrollably. She staggered, and suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Makoto cried out in terror, stumbling backward. Second sister, it wasn't me. I didn't mean to. You bastard. Willow lunged forward, grabbing Makoto by the throat with one hand and slapping him hard across the face several times. Her eyes were blood red, and she showed no mercy. Makoto's face quickly swelled like a pig's head. Yet no one stepped forward to stop her. Only when Makoto was about to pass out did Freya speak coldly. That's enough. George is already dead. Even if you beat Makoto to death, he won't come back. Someone take him to the police station. Bring the video as well. 4 years. George suffered so many injustices. You were his wife, yet you helped Makoto humiliate him. And now you put on this hypocritical act. Does that amuse you? Willow was speechless. She collapsed to the ground, clutching her head in despair. It was me. I wronged him. George, I'm sorry. Willow broke down in uncontrollable sobs. Meanwhile, I lay comfortably on the leather seat of a Rolls-Royce, leisurely eating ice cream, listening as the system excitedly reported in my ear. 50. 60. 70. Oh my god, it's past 80. Damn, Freya is incredible. I licked my ice cream and sighed. Women really understand women. Freya had said women were like this. When they have something, they don't cherish it. Only after losing it do they drown in regret. My approach of catering to Willow's every whim from the very beginning had been wrong. No matter how well you treat someone, at first she'll be touched and grateful, but soon, she'll get used to it. And habit is terrifying. Just like a healthy person never stops to think how fortunate it is simply to have a whole body, until they lose an arm or a leg and lie in a hospital bed, only then realizing how rich they once were. That's why my progress had been stuck all along. Only by dying, only by disappearing completely from Willow's world, could she finally realize my importance. In the days that followed, Willow grew more miserable with each passing day. She began suffering from insomnia night after night, clutching my photograph as she sat blankly on my bed. From dusk till dawn, from sunrise till sunset, her eyes hollow, as if her soul had died along with me. Chapter 20. I thought the conquest was about to succeed, but the progress bar was stuck at 95. It just wouldn't move any higher. I sat cross-legged on the carpet, holding a watermelon and scooping it out with a spoon. Sister, what's going on? Why isn't her favorability rising anymore? Freya lay on the sofa, her fingers loosely winding around the corner of my shirt, playing with the fabric. A woman won't regret something forever. She'll regret it for a while, then the feelings will slowly fade. In the end, she still has to move forward and live her own life. I grew anxious, tossing the watermelon aside and looking down at her. Then what do we do next? Freya wrapped her arms around my neck. Her shallow breaths brushed against my face. Do you know why Willow likes Makoto? I nodded. They grew up together, childhood sweethearts. Freya let out a soft, mocking laugh. Wrong. It's because Makoto is her brother. That sense of forbidden taboo, like opium, makes people unable to quit, willing to sink willingly into it. Her pale, slender fingers undid the buttons of my shirt, lingering over my collarbone before moving lower. In the Liu family, something dirty runs in our blood. She gripped me firmly. In her deep, dark eyes surged undisguised desire. George, from the very second you appeared in my sight, I swore I would have you, my dear brother-in-law. Her fingers teased and provoked. My entire body tensed. Waves of tingling sensation spreading like a tide. The watermelon overturned on the floor, red juice soaking into the carpet. My consciousness grew hazy. By my ear, Freya whispered like a demon. Do you know how to completely win Willow's heart? Become someone within her reach, yet forever out of it. Chapter 21, Brother-in-Law. Willow stared at me intensely, fists clenched, her face twisted with anger and agitation. Who did you just say he is? Freya replied calmly. His name is Lazy Larry, my newlywed husband, and your brother-in-law. Darling, come over and greet your little sister-in-law. I pulled Freya into my arms and extended a hand toward Willow. Hello, I'm Lazy Larry. Freya really went all out. She changed my name, dyed my hair blonde, arranged a new wealthy heir identity for me, and just brought me back to the Liu family openly like this. Even though my styling and demeanor were completely different from before, I had lived in the Liu household for 5 years. No one was blind. They would definitely suspect that I was George. George, you're alive. I knew it. That fire back then, was it arranged by you? The conquest progress bar shot upward violently, from 95 to 99. 9. Willow grabbed me forcefully toward her. Freya firmly seized my arm and pulled me back just as strongly, her expression sharp. Willow, you've crossed the line, Freya warned. I cooperated with a confused expression. What are you doing? I don't even know you. With Freya's overwhelming presence there, no matter how furious Willow was, she didn't dare make a move. Fine, I'll prove it myself. Lazy Larry is George. And big sister, you'd better remember, George is my husband. Chapter 22. Over the next few days, Willow acted like a deranged stalker, never leaving my side, her gaze locked tightly on me. Freya guarded me closely, refusing to give the two of us any chance to be alone. And she loved showing off our affection right in front of Willow. Every now and then, she would slip into my arms and kiss me. She would act spoiled, sit on my lap, and wriggle slightly. Your sister is watching us, I murmured. Freya took my hand and pulled me upstairs. She just lost her husband. She's not exactly in her right mind. Ignore her. Come on, let's go back to our room. I turned to look at Willow. Her teeth were clenched tightly. The flames of anger and jealousy in her eyes were almost tangible. I blinked at her quickly and subtly pointed toward the backyard, wearing a meaningful expression. Willow froze. At 1 in the morning, exhausted after another intense round with Freya, I slipped downstairs in a robe. Sure enough, Willow was waiting for me in the backyard. The moonlight was cool as water. Willow stood under a tree, looking lost and hollow. When she saw me, her breath caught. She stepped forward carefully and called out hoarsely, George. I hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Her eyes lit up instantly. She rushed toward me, trying to hug me. I quickly stepped back. Stop. Don't come any closer. Willow's eyelids trembled. She gave a bitter smile. All right, I won't come closer. What happened before, it was all my fault. George, can we start over? Chapter 23. I shook my head, tightening my robe and sitting down on the swing nearby, beginning to tell her the story I had prepared. In that fire, Big Sister had saved me, but when I woke up, I had lost my memory. It wasn't until yesterday that I finally remembered everything. I died once. Let the past stay buried. I don't want to see you suffer like this anymore. Willow, let's all move forward. I'm Freya's husband now. Willow stepped forward a few paces and trembled as she grabbed my hand. Do you still have me in your heart? Otherwise, why would you care whether I'm in pain? It was as if a needle pierced me. My pupils shrank. I pulled my hand back in panic, biting my lip and shaking my head desperately. No, I stopped liking you long ago. The time you left me alone on the mountaintop for Makoto. The time you slapped me for Makoto. The time you smashed the gift I carefully prepared for you, for Makoto. I lowered my eyes. My voice choked as tears rolled down one by one, falling onto the back of Willow's hand. A wound stabbed 10,000 times by a dagger, the flesh has long rotted. It doesn't hurt anymore. Willow's expression collapsed in anguish. She lost control and pulled me into a tight embrace. It was me. I was wrong. I treated you so terribly. Yet after regaining your memory, the first thing you thought about was telling me not to suffer anymore. George, you're the most foolish man I've ever known. I struggled desperately and pushed her away. We can't do this. I'm your brother-in-law. Brother-in-law, come on, get excited. I cried bitterly. Willow, you never loved me either. Why cling to the past? That's not true. Willow hugged me tightly, her tears soaking through my robe. I like you. I've always liked you. I was moved by you long ago. I just didn't realize it. George, I love you. You're mine. Favorability 100%. Congratulations. Host, the conquest is successful. You will receive 10,000 system points, which can be used in the store for your next mission. Finally, it succeeded. A wave of relief washed over me, and the tension in my body melted away instantly. Chapter 24. Willow's lips trailed up along my neck, urgently searching for mine. I swung my arm and delivered a hard slap across her face. Her head snapped to the side. She covered her cheek in disbelief. I wiped away my tears and let out a cold snort. You dare covet your own brother-in-law, you animal. Get lost. Behind me, Freya's voice sounded, restrained but edged with anger. Lazy Larry, come here. I hurried over obediently and took her hands. Honey, let me explain. Freya cut me off. No need. Whatever you say, I believe you. Willow still thought I was acting. She looked at me with unbearable sorrow, guilt, and heartache written all over her face. I wrapped an arm around Freya and walked away. The conquest was complete. Whatever Willow felt now had nothing to do with me anymore. I told Freya I wanted to travel the world alone. Of course, she refused. Stay by my side. Freya's possessiveness was astonishing. She was calculating, ruthless, not exactly what you'd call normal. In the past, I never dared to challenge her, but now, I had leverage. I pushed her down onto the bed and leaned over her. I'm informing you. I'm not asking for permission. Freya raised an eyebrow, planning a rebellion. I slowly loosened my tie and used it to bind her wrists to the headboard. I forgot to tell you something. After a successful conquest, there's a system reward. One of the rewards, I can leave this world at any time. Freya's expression changed instantly. She struggled, trying to sit up. I pressed a finger to her forehead, pushing her back down, leaning close to her ear. I'm free, Freya. No one gets to control me. She froze. After a moment, she relaxed into the mattress, her free hand circling tightly around my waist. The puppy finally turned into the master. Impressive. Her tone carried faint praise, yet still that unmistakable confidence of someone used to winning. Chapter 25. The next morning, when Freya saw who had come to take me to the airport, she completely lost her smile. Alicia. George, you just had to ask her to send you off. Alicia sat in a convertible, full of energy. She flipped her long hair and laughed boldly. Sister Freya's mistaken. I'm not sending him off. I'm going on the trip too. Freya's expression finally cracked. George, what is this supposed to mean? I got into the car and waved at Freya. Didn't I tell you? The pen's in my hand. How the script is written, that's up to me. Alicia stepped on the gas. My words scattered into the wind. Unrestrained, free. Freya stood there with clenched fists, her face dark as a storm. Willow hid behind the door, staring blankly at the direction I left, filled with pain, regret, and reluctant longing. But none of that had anything to do with me anymore.